Warning: the following episode contains two long-time football fans trying to discuss the excesses of modern football finance while simultaneously being supporters of Liverpool and Arsenal. Any accusations of bitterness, hypocrisy and bias levelled against us are both predictable, not entirely unfounded, but also missing one key point. We are sports fans first and foremost, and football fans always. What you're about to hear includes us complaining about billionaire-backed football clubs, as though our own clubs haven't also benefited massively from the money and globalisation of the Premier League era. But underneath the somewhat sanctimonious ranting, there is a serious point to be made. This year's FA Cup final is between two clubs whose success has been built on levels of spending that most of football simply cannot comprehend, let alone compete with. And while regulations like PSR and financial fair play were supposed to curtail such excess, many fans, ourselves included, now feel they've done more to help protect the biggest clubs rather than create meaningful competition. Because once a club reaches a certain level of wealth, revenue and commercial power, staying at the top becomes far easier than getting there in the first place. So this Saturday isn't simply about 90 minutes at Wembley, as it rightly should be. It's about what English football is becoming, if the gap is now too big for most clubs to bridge, whether any will really exists to redress the balance, and what our sport will look like if commercial interests continue to be maximised wholly at the expense of the fans whose sport it really is. Because never forget, this is our game. And this is the Sporting Almanac podcast.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Been a while.
Yeah, a little short hiatus. Not quite a winter break, but a mid-season break.
Well, the sun comes out. Got to enjoy it as best we can while it lasts.
Yeah, and I've been on a little jolly to the continent.
You have? How was Amsterdam?
Very nice people, the Dutch. Very progressive, very relaxed and progressive people. I like them.
Yes, the way you say it makes you sound like you were doing relaxed and progressive things in Amsterdam, but I know you well enough to know that wasn't the case.
No, just admiring them from afar. They're just very calm place.
Yes.
And big association football fans.
Of course, big people as well. Tallest people in Europe, the Dutch.
Very big people, yeah, giants. The South Africans know that as well because of their colonial heritage.
Is that where it comes from? Is that why South African rugby players are so massive?
I think it's why Afrikaans are massive. Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't actually know enough about the genealogy of South Africa, so I'm hypothesizing slightly. There may not be a link at all. Might just be a coincidence.
So what you're saying is you're saying something with confidence, even though you're not an expert in it.
Very much like the people that talk about the sport that we're focusing on today, Jack.
What a fantastic segue. Best in the business, Ben.
Association football is back. It's the season in which all the finals crescend.
When was the last time we did a football episode? It feels like a long time ago. Is it AFCON?
Yeah, I think it might have been AFCON, actually.
Far too long.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Incredibly long time ago. All things considered.
We're going to more than make up for that though, in coming weeks, we can assure you.
Yeah, because we're going FA Cup today, and just a sort of general chit-chat about the romance of football in the United Kingdom. And then we're going to talk, probably, if we've got time, playoffs, European finals, with a sprinkling of the Isle of Man TT and the State of Origin.
Yeah.
And then we're going to turn our attention almost exclusively to the World Cup.
Yeah, and we have a lot to say on the World Cup. I have never had such mixed feelings about a World Cup as this, and it is a great opportunity for us to do something we love doing more than anything, as you may have noticed, which is bashing FIFA.
Yeah, having a moan about the establishment. But why don't we start on a more positive tone, Jack? What does the FA Cup mean to you? What does it make you feel?
Well, ordinarily or this year? That's the question.
Let's go ordinarily before we shift the tide, because I know what this year makes you feel, or at least I think I do.
I'm an absolute sucker for the romance of the FA Cup. Anyone who listened to the FA Cup episode from last year, one of our early episodes, I think episode 7, will have known I'm a sucker for the romance of the FA Cup, the history, the giant killings, the great finals. Over the years, it was something I grew up obsessed with when I was a child.
Yes,
when
you did.
my love of football started off very book heavy.
Yeah.
Scrolling through annals and tomes and remembering who won the FA Cup in stupid years of the past and never really forgetting it.
And the scorers and the scores.
Yeah. And it was always the pinnacle of a footballer's career was to play in the FA Cup final, to win the FA Cup. It's not the case anymore. And it's not the case anymore for a few reasons. Firstly, European football. Of course, the Champions League is the pinnacle of a club footballer's career nowadays for pretty good reason, I'd say.
Not celebrate getting to a final, though, Jack.
No, God forbid, Ben.
Yeah, don't enjoy it. Don't enjoy it. Whatever you do.
The joy police will come for you.
Whatever you do, do not enjoy yourselves.
I mean, that's a whole other thing.
We'll do that on the European Cup final episode.
Yes. Yeah, we'll come back to that. But now, and then obviously money-wise, Premier League and the Champions League are just, you get no money for the FA Cup. You may as well get no money for it. It's a pittance. It's so little. I'm surprised that like Premier League clubs don't donate it to charity. It's a handful of £1 million compared to the 100 million plus you get for the Champions League and
TV money.
That much. Yeah, TV money alone for the Premier League, which is huge. So yeah, all in all, could you say it's lost its romance? Not if you're a historian. If you're a historian, it's all linked to the past and it's
I'll never
magical and marvelous.
I'll never concede that it's lost its romance. I'll concede that there are powers that be trying to erode it, but I think there's something really special about this tournament, that just its design, its makeup, and like you say, what it means historically, and what it means still to, 86 of the 92.
Well, that is exactly the point I was about to make, is that so much of our discourse on football is governed by what the top six are doing, or whatever the top teams at any given moment are doing, that you forget that, remember when Wigan won it? Remember when Crystal Palace won it last year?
I do.
Like, you're telling me that wasn't romantic? You're telling me that wasn't wonderful?
Made me feel things, and I'm not even a Palace fan.
It's absolute nonsense. It's like Millwall reaching the final, Cardiff reaching the final not too long ago. Portsmouth, there we go. Portsmouth winning it.
Even a Leicester City, despite their recent perils.
Yeah. Leicester City winning it too. Huge deal. And it remains a huge deal for all these clubs. It is just a shame. And we'll get on to the point in question now. How romantic would a Leeds United versus Southampton final have been? Two teams that both won this competition once in their lives within 4 years of each other in the 1970s and had appeared in other finals and lost in both their cases.
Just give me one of them in the final even. Let them go up against a Titan. Give me a Hull City, like a Stoke City of recent years gone by. It would have just been way better. The irony
Watford,
is,
who got battered by City.
Yeah,
at least they were there.
At least they were there, exactly. And they had their day out and they had their day in the sun. The thing that, it's a bit of a sickener it's come to this, because City, Man City, and Chelsea have actually never, in recent times at least, since the buyouts, played each other in an FA Cup final. But it felt like a matter of time, really.
I mean, they've played each other in the Champions League final.
Yes.
But not the FA Cup final.
Just as grim.
Yeah, very much so. It
stinks, mate.
It's difficult. Football is difficult to sometimes tread around accusations of bias and put our cards on the table right now. You are an Arsenal fan. I am a Liverpool fan. We are inclined in the first place. We're supporters of two Big Six teams, if you want to call them that.
We are.
And two teams that have built their success on, shall we say, a more organic, perhaps, structure.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, it's not that we're not wealthy, nor that we've not had buyouts. It's just that we've never had access to a bottomless pit of money.
Yes, and I would count Manchester United amongst that as well.
I would agree.
And Spurs, even, if you want to go for the old top six. Not that Spurs are anywhere near that anymore, but City and Chelsea, even though both of them are historic clubs and both of them have a long history. Chelsea won this competition in 1970. They beat Leeds in the final. Man City won this competition, I think, in the 50s and 60s as well, if I remember rightly. So there's the pedigree. These are two great old clubs, but they were nowhere near. Well, Chelsea were there or thereabouts. Chelsea won this in 1997 and 2000, pre-Abramovich. They were there or thereabouts. City were nowhere near, ultimately, until investment came along in several forms.
Mate, you're being really kind to Chelsea. Prior to the buyout, they had won 3 FA Cups in 101 years.
Yes.
Since then, they've won...
2 of which have been in the previous 6 years prior to the buyout.
Yeah. Since then, they've won 5 in 23 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's a joke. They've also been in another four finals, which gives them 9 finals in 23 years. It's nearly every other year that they've been in the final. I don't know why or how it happened, Jack. Maybe it's a coincidence.
Yes.
It's a shambles. City, surprisingly, have underachieved in the FA Cup, but nonetheless, they were bought out in 2008, and prior to that, they had won 4 FA Cups in 132 years, the last of which was in 1969.
Yeah.
And now they have 7. So they've won 3 in the last 18 years since their buyout, and they've been in another 3 finals. That's 6 finals in 18 years. That means they're in the final every 3 years, and Chelsea are in the final just under every other year.
Yes.
It's a joke.
It is, but there's also like the argument, okay, so football, is money bad in football in the sort of general sense of it? Is it the question that teams getting money is bad? For example, I'll give you an example. Is Wrexham's success bad? I personally, I find it quite romantic what's happened with Wrexham because of the way the club has been run. Clearly, they've got one superstar and Rob Mack, who's slightly less famous, but still famous enough to bring in famous sponsors and attract investment and whatever else is needed. And clearly, they're in a better position than other National League and then League Two and then League One clubs. And if they were to be promoted to the Premier League, which they just missed out on the playoffs this year, I have no doubt it will happen in the next 5 years. They are then in a position with the investment sort of minority owners at their club to spend huge amounts of money should they get in the Premier League. Is that romantic? Well, it's not as romantic as it would be if they built it all on sort of football success alone, but it's also a lot more sustainable than that and a lot less impossible and a lot less War of the Rovers.
I think that is romantic, and I'll give you the distinction. The distinction is that Wrexham might be perceived as having a bottomless pit of money because of the level at which they were at when they received their investment, but they don't. They don't have a bottomless pit of money. They have to be run well to achieve the success that they're achieving. And they do, especially given the situation of the club, the location of the club, the size of the stadium, the size of the sort of fan base. And don't get me wrong, they are adored in Wrexham itself and the surrounding area, but they're also competing quite heavily with Liverpool, not too far away, Manchester City, not too far away, etc., etc. The days
and a small stadium as well.
This is it. The days of building up a sporting reputation over sort of 20, 30 years of sustained success, like the likes of Leeds did and people, and Nottingham Forest, like some of the other massive clubs of this country, Aston Villas of this world, and obviously the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, if you want the most extreme examples, because they continue to be successful now. Those days are gone, mate. They're gone. You can't do that anymore. So the best thing that you get in football, or the closest thing you can get to that level of romance, is the sorts of thing that's going on at Wrexham, which is someone comes in with enough money to support the club in the short term, but they have to manage it very, very effectively and very, very well in order to achieve success. Like that's fine. But what you're seeing at City and Chelsea and possibly Newcastle to a lesser extent, is
a much lesser extent, I'd say.
Yeah, it is much less.
I'd say
it is much less.
It's lesser because rules are now in place on the back of Chelsea and Manchester City. They basically got their investment at the best possible time because they were able to get in before rules were brought in, which sort of culminated in the PSR rules, profit and sustainability rules. They are PSR, which basically brought in on the back of City success, rise from nothing to title winners within a few short years based on a large amount of investment.
3 years. Chelsea did it in 2.
And it is now more difficult to do it, and teams have fallen foul of it. The most notable examples being Everton and Nottingham Forest, who have overspent under PSR regulation for various reasons, some within their control, some not within their control, pushing the envelope too close and then falling foul of it and getting points deductions as a result. The problem with City and Chelsea is that both of them have broken the rules. Chelsea
continuously
is proven. Chelsea has proven and admitted. The Premier League have stated that Chelsea themselves have admitted to it, albeit the new owners have admitted to it, and none of the directors who were involved are still at the club, so it becomes easy to do so. Both of them have broken rules, or at least City have these 115 charges, or at least that is the number that's quoted. It may be slightly more, maybe slightly less than that. It's a bit vague as to the exact number. 115 is the number that stuck. They are broken rules and they have not been punished for it in a sporting sense, and that is the problem.
It's the period of time over which they've been breaking the rules as well. Like it's
Decades.
not like it's not like they broke the rules one transfer window. Like they did it for literally like a 10-year period, both clubs, and they've both had their most success in their history in that period.
Yeah. So to go through what the two teams actually did, start with Chelsea, because Chelsea, this is proven, this has happened, this has been quote unquote punished. They made at least 36 off-the-book payments, totaling at least £47.5 million to agents, players, scouts, coaches, etc. Basically brown envelope money, so money under the table. Players were officially unaware of this, but it included players like the signings of Eden Hazard, Samuel Eto'o, Willian, David Luiz, so players that became fundamental
Ramirez,
in
Matic.
Most of those cases. Fundamental to the success of that team, winning Champions League, winning Premier League titles, winning FA Cups as well, of course.
Yeah.
And the reason they were able to sign those players over rivals is because agents were paid fees for them outside, off the books, basically. So Roman Abramovich himself, with his own personal funds, gave agents £5 million, X amount of money, whatever it might be, in order to tip the scales in Chelsea's favour. So Eden Hazard's the best example of this. Manchester United could meet the transfer fee, they could meet the players' wages, but they weren't prepared to give I think it was a £5 million agent's fee for Eden Hazard. Chelsea were prepared to do that, but they were only prepared to do that off the books. And this is what they were caught for. This is what they were charged with. This is what they admitted to. And to be fair to the new Chelsea board, they were very cooperative, apparently, in the investigation.
That's why they got such
provided
a pathetic punishment for it.
They got no punishment. Because
none.
I mean, there's a famous quote which says, if the penalty for a crime is a fine, then that law only exists for the lower classes. And it applies thoroughly for football. Basically, Chelsea got fined. They didn't get a points deduction, even though Everton and Nottingham Forest, as I say, for single season breaches, for overspending on PSR rules, both of them got points deductions. Chelsea did not get a sporting punishment. They got a fine, and obviously a fine for rich people.
Guess how much they got a fine for, Jack?
Was it like £5 million or something stupid?
It was £11 million. But you've already pointed out that they paid everyone 46. This is shambles.
And this is, but it's not just that they're gaining better players by doing this. They're also denying their rivals better players as well. So Eden Hazard playing for Manchester United could have meant Manchester United won the league in
Spurs
in 2015, for example, or wherever it was.
Yeah, no, I think Hazard,
Willian Spurs
Hazard
as well.
was linked to United. Matic was linked to United. I know he ends up joining them eventually. Willian was linked to Spurs, or basically had joined Spurs. Like, it's not insignificant.
Until they swept in with a lot of money, and turned the tides. It's, to be fair, in my opinion, and I understand that PSR, in the cases of Everton and Nottingham Forest, is an objective thing. They overspent by a certain amount of money. There was points deductions, albeit not down in writing. The Premier League sort of messed up in that regard. There were sort of meant to be set points deductions for overspending, so every £5 million was an extra point on top of the 6 points that you got by default. They cocked up a bit there. Anyway, both teams ended up getting points deductions. Both managed to avoid relegation. Both are now still in the Premier League. Forest got to the Europa League semis. Everton obviously pushing higher in the Premier League now and looking like a team set to, well, I say hopefully, I'm a Liverpool fan, but I do genuinely hope Everton can go on to do good things. I quite like Everton. So yeah, it's...
Mate,
then Chelsea don't get a sporting punishment at all. It's bullshit.
Add to this? Like, in 2009, they got banned from registering players for 2 transfer windows because they were doing some dodgy stuff in respect of a transfer regarding Gael Kakuta, who joined them in 2007. They then appealed that to CAS and won, so they had that ban lifted. But they also got done for tapping up Ashley Cole in 2005. And they got done for breach of the rules in respect of signing players under 18 in 2019 or something, which is what led to the transfer ban that Frank Lampard had when he was there the first time that he was in charge. Like, so when you're talking about the payments between, what was it, 2009 and 2019, which they actually get done for and they get this fine for, but they don't get any ban for, this is part of like a pattern of just continuously breaking the rules. And getting no punishment for it, or, as you quite rightly point out, getting a nominal punishment, which is, like, basically not even close to being proportionate to the offending. Like, It's a joke, and it gives you such a foot up, especially when you're already rich.
If you cheat to gain a sporting advantage, you should get a sporting punishment. Now, you can argue, obviously, that banning from transfer windows is a sporting punishment. Yeah, fair enough. It's a minor one. It's a low-level one, whether or not it was enough or not. The FA are very reluctant to give points deductions for whatever reason to their top clubs, whereas they were more than willing to give points deductions to Everton and Nottingham Forest. And Chelsea's, any threat of a points deduction for Chelsea was disappeared when they were cooperative. The reason stated for points deduction being taken off the table was how cooperative they were. Nottingham Forest were very cooperative too with their PSR investigation. Didn't stop points deduction being taken off the table for them. So
protect the brand.
It feels
protect the brand,
and that is the problem. And this is, I mean, you could if you're going to make like a real political argument for this and say, well, is that actually in this in the Premier League's best interest to do that? Should they be protecting their brand because they need it to keep growing? They've got competition, arguably. I don't think they do have competition, but arguably from La Liga and Saudi League and whatever else, competition for players, competition for market share. Realistically, they don't. The Premier League is way bigger than any other league in the world, and it's going to stay so. I don't know. I don't know what the future of the Premier League is, but then you obviously got this Man City situation as well, which is ongoing and has been ongoing for, first came to light 8 years ago, and the Premier League have been investigating it for 3 years at this point, and it is unlikely to have any resolution anytime soon. And it's crazy situation. These 115
I just think it's
asterisk
a joke.
charges.
Can I summarise why I think this is a problem? And it's as applicable to Chelsea as it is to City, but I think that it's the thing that is overlooked. People love to oversimplify. And also, I say, do people love to oversimplify? Maybe it's just an extension of the point we were making about protecting the brand. Like, Sky don't want you to think that the Premier League is corrupt because they're paying for the services of showing you the Premier League, and so they want you to believe in what you're watching. So they never really tell you the full story, and they make excuses for people. If you're rich and you're breaking the rules, you can pay transfer fees at whatever the value, including over market value, to get the player you want, as you've already pointed out, at the expense of other teams. You can then pay the highest salaries to persuade those players to come to you, again, sometimes over market value. You can then afford a higher number of those players, and therefore you can have a stronger 11 and you can have a stronger squad. And the squad is possibly even more important than just having a good starting 11. And this is the kicker. In
modern football, yeah.
And this is the kicker. If you get it wrong, you can swallow the losses and do it again. And you can do it continuously. And then you can hire the best manager and the best backroom staff. You can then install the best infrastructure, training grounds, stadiums, so on and so forth. And then you have a better chance of winning, which in turn attracts a higher caliber of players, even if you haven't won, because they want to be part of the project. And then if you win, it increases your reputation even further, giving you more prize money, more sponsorship, attracting even more better players. The whole thing compounds itself. It is a joke that no one does anything about it or tells you it like that.
And you talk about these PSR regulations. Now, the PSR regulations, basically, they limit your spending based on the amount of money you're making as a club. So that includes your sponsorship, your sales, your shirt sales, your tickets, whatever, everything that goes into it. All of that gives you a limit on how much you can spend. You can spend up to that point and then, I think, £105 million more or whatever it is to still stay within the limit. And obviously, you're talking about a bit of cheating at the beginning. If you break the rules at the beginning, that then compounds year on year, as you're correctly saying. You gain more sponsorship money because you become a more attractive. You sell more tickets. You can set a higher ticket price because demand and supply. All this gives you more money you can then spend on PSR, and you can legally buy players later. So the idea that sort of cheating 10 years ago gets a slap on the wrist, whereas the PSR punishments for Everton and Nottingham Forest get a points deduction, is a joke, because if it wasn't for, and it's impossible to say what would have happened if they hadn't done this, would they have achieved a level of success? But it is pure and simple that Chelsea achieved a lot of success they had in that period of time between 2009 and 2019, after 2012 when they signed him, due to how good Eden Hazard was when he played for them. And it's a good argument that can be made that he wouldn't have joined Chelsea if they hadn't cheated, if they hadn't paid him money off the books to his agent in order to get him. Yeah. So Chelsea are in a situation now where they're able to spend more money. And not that they're, Chelsea's current financial situation is you'd need a PhD to be able to understand what they're doing, because it feels crooked. I can't explain why, but it feels very crooked.
Yes.
But they are able to spend more money and survive within the PSR rules because they have been so successful over the past decade, winning the Champions League twice, winning the Premier League a couple of times, winning the FA Cup a few times, whatever it's been. So, yeah.
I mean, if you want...
it's bullshit.
If you want an example of like how this impacts sides, like let's take the semi-final between Leeds and Chelsea. Now, obviously, I haven't done any kind of like forensic accounting to work out the veracity of the exact numbers here. So anybody who's going to do their own Googling and freak out and think that I'm inaccurate, like just cool your jets. This is giving you an estimated idea. Like Chelsea's yearly wage bill is somewhere between 150 and 175 million, according to the internet. And Leeds is about 55 million. So Leeds' salary is expenditure on their players is a third of Chelsea's approximately. In what world are they supposed to compete? Take any other business where that's the discrepancy financially, and tell me that you would expect the smaller business to be doing better.
Yeah, and football is such that, you put all your cards on the table, as it were, over the course of a single 90-minute match, and as we see time and time again, anyone can beat anyone on their day. So yeah, there's always a chance for the small team. But over the course of a season, sustaining this performance, these results, like the levels within the Football League in terms of money that you make are so heavily stacked to the top now. If you finish in the top 5 in the league now, you get in the Champions League pretty much every season. Due to how successful English clubs are in Europe, you get the extra Champions League place. That is worth over £100 million in terms of prize money and in terms of Champions League participation money alone, let alone sponsorship opportunities, player value, etc., that you gain from that. Then you've got sort of the mid-range teams who stay in the Premier League. That's worth hundreds of millions of pounds from the TV fees, and obviously the top teams get this as well. Then if you get relegated to the Championship, there's a huge drop-off, and it becomes this completely different tier, but you're still making a decent amount of money. Then from League One and below, it just drops off massively. And like you say, I'm not saying for 1 second that if Chelsea hadn't cheated, they'd end up in League One or League Two. Obviously not, but they're getting in the Champions League year after year after year. It's worth hundreds of millions of pounds in prize money, in sponsorship, in everything like that. What chance does anyone else have to catch up?
Well,
especially if they're allowed to cheat in the first place.
I agree with you, and like the point you touched on it like briefly when you were very articulately explaining the wider problem, which is sure, in that semi-final, that was a great day out for Leeds and like Leeds fans.
Wonderful.
They might have won, and they could have won in that 90 minutes, and perhaps on another day they would have won. But they're not there often enough, or given the opportunity often enough to ever take advantage of that. They were there once that was like the first time in 20 years, maybe longer. That Leeds
30 years.
30 years that Leeds have made a semi-final.
No, nearly 40 years.
Right.
39 years.
Oh, there we are. And like Chelsea are there every second year, and it's like no wonder they have a monopoly on like success in this country, along with Man City. Like. They're just always there. Yeah, occasionally they have their pants pulled down, and that's why we still love, the game, so to speak, like the sport.
Yeah,
but it's not why I like the competition.
There's every chance that Leeds could end up winning a competition like the FA Cup. I mean, Crystal Palace won it last year, and there's not a huge difference between those two clubs.
And they beat Man City in the final.
And they beat Man City, yeah, of course. So it's not impossible that a team like Leeds ends up winning it. But what are the chances of Leeds getting in the Champions League 3 seasons in a row? Any time in the next 20 years without foreign investment on a huge scale.
Yeah, and then possibly some cheating.
Yeah, and even then, with the PSR regulations, they won't be able to spend the money. They might have, in fact, they probably do have the backing to spend it now, with 49ers backing them, Red Bull backing them. They've got massive backers, but they can't spend the money because they haven't made the money.
Like Newcastle.
So unless they got a crooked deal where their owner decides to have one of his other assets sponsor them, in inverted commas, for twice the value that sponsorship would normally be worth, and overinflating that so they can then spend money, which is one of the things that Manchester City have been accused of doing. And that's what came out in 2018 for the first time through Der Spiegel and some other very good journalism. Der Spiegel being a German newspaper who first broke this story. It's
rank.
It's an impossible gap. And then City is still ongoing.
Can I just tell you this short story about Chelsea?
Yeah.
Because I think this serves to prove your point about like if you can't spend it if you're not making it. Chelsea were bought in 2003 by Roman Abramovich. Now, how on earth he got past the fit and proper persons test is
good timing
beyond me.
Early 2000s were good timing if you're Russian.
Yeah.
And you want to be investing in places. That's about it, really.
Chelsea, as a club, the reason they sold it were because they were facing an apparent financial crisis. So they were not in a healthy financial situation. The summer that he bought them, bearing in mind this is 2003, Jack, he spent £100 million, which in today's money is £205 million.
That's just inflation wise. In
just
today's
inflation.
like transfer fee wise, like football inflation, as it were, you can probably quadruple that.
Yes.
That's a lot of money at the time.
It was an astronomical amount of money. And he bought players like Claude Makelele, Jeremy, Hernan Crespo, Joe Cole, Damien Duff, even like Wayne Bridge and Glenn Johnson, who, you know, maybe not like glamour names, but were big players at the time.
Important players, yeah.
And that year, that was the first season that Abramovich was owner, was the year that Arsenal won the league unbeaten and Porto won the Champions League. Chelsea made the semi-finals, having knocked Arsenal out in the quarters, and then they got done by Monaco. So what do they go and do in that summer? They signed Jose Mourinho, who's just won the Champions League with Porto. They signed Didier Drogba, Carvalho, Paulo Ferreira, Ian Robin and Petr Cech, spending another 140 million. So that's now 290 million in today's money just on inflation. So in 2 transfer windows, they spent £500 million. They then won the league.
This is at a time where I think the world record transfer fee ever paid was, what was Zidane? Was he 45 million?
Yeah.
Or something like that around that time? So that was about where the record was. Don't quote, I'm probably slightly wrong. Somewhere in that region.
Yeah.
Now the world record transfer fee is £200 million, with
Mbappe.
£100 million plus transfers are fairly regular. So that puts into perspective the fact that even though inflation alone doubles it, football inflation, if you want to call it that, probably quadruples that. It's a stupid amount of money to be spending over the course of 2 years.
They win the league. Don't know how. It's a miracle. Then they sign Michael Essien and Sean Wright-Phillips for another 70 million in that summer and defend their title. Then they go and sign Shevchenko, John Obi Mikel, and the tapped-up Ashley Cole, spending another 90 million. So that's £850 million across 3 seasons. And then the first time they don't win the league, what do they go and win? The FA Cup.
Yeah, and they get to the Champions League final a year later and lose.
Absolute joke, mate. Like, and you put it into that kind of perspective, nearly £1 billion was spent, nearly £1 billion in 3 seasons, and everyone's like happy or like thinks it's funny that your team is beaten by Chelsea and a Man City, because Man City have done effectively exactly the same thing. Like, no one's got a chance. No one's got a chance. If you beat them, it should be celebrated.
To be fair, 16, 17-year-old me at that time was just glad someone other than United was winning the title. So
I don't blame
it's
kids.
Very easy to be very easy as a football fan to be blinded to take the positives and stuff, but on the whole, the point being, obviously Newcastle being the best example of this, you can't do that nowadays. Like, PSR is on the face of things a good sustaining factor, but it hasn't produced equity because you've got the teams who've already done their spending, namely Man City and Chelsea, and also Liverpool and Arsenal and Manchester United, and to a lesser extent Spurs as well. So it's sort of it locks off any chance that Newcastle have in any quick period of time to be able to bridge that gap without cheating. So I have mixed feelings about PSR in those regards. I wish it came in tow with tougher limitations for the top teams in order to balance out a little more. I do think the Premier League is better off for the amount of money that teams have generally. It's why it's the best league in the world, because Bournemouth can go out and get a superb manager and pick up good players here and there, and they can sell players for a lot of money that they develop, obviously, to Real Madrid and the like that they've done over the summer, and benefit from that way. And now they're challenging, maybe even for a Champions League place if chips fall their way at the end of the season. That's good, but it's the bridge is too far to realistically see them taking that last step anytime soon and bridging that gap. It's not like the olden days where, like, Leeds got promoted in 1990 from the old Division 2 and ended up winning the title 2 years later. I mean, yes, Leicester did it, but that was sort of right at the beginning of this period of time, and that was a once-in-a-lifetime thing that happened, and it was wonderful. I don't know. I just think Champions League money is creating a huge bridge. Premier League money is creating a huge bridge to the Championship, and Championship money is creating a huge bridge to League One. The fact that Wrexham can do it off the back of legitimate sporting investment and sensible sort of workarounds, but backed up with a lot of funding as well, I think is both a good thing, but also sad that that's sort of the state that football is in now.
Yeah,
ultimately,
the damage is done. Like the game in the conventional sense has already been ruined. Like, and the reason I was waffling on about like that spend and like the breaking of the rules and like setting this like that sort of scene, if you like, around Chelsea in particular is because I'm just like, be careful what you wish for. Like, football fans are so short-sighted. They love to just laugh at you when you're beaten by Man City or you're beaten by Chelsea, but they're beating everyone. And now you have an FA Cup final that is Manchester City versus Chelsea. Are you happy now? Who do you want to win?
I mean, I tell you what, there's one of those teams I hate less than the other.
I hate Man City less than Chelsea, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I don't mind City in many ways. At least they do things correct from a sporting point of view, albeit with they're playing on easy mode, obviously. But Pep's a wonderful manager, and he will be missed should he leave this summer, as rumours suggest he may, in some ways.
Yeah, I agree, but like he's only there because they're really, really rich.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I don't know. I don't want to belittle him, but he's been there for a decade now. He's going to go down as one of the greatest managers in history. He could have gone down as the greatest manager in history. I don't know if he's A, done enough at City to justify that, and B, whether it's been challenging enough for him to do that. Because I think Barcelona, there's a certain challenge with that, because I'm just looking at the transfer record fees just to put my mind at ease. I got the 45 million for Zidane right. It was 46 million, so I'm pleased with myself there. 5 consecutive transfer records breaks were by Real Madrid. Figo, Zidane, Kaká, Ronaldo, Bale. So to do well in Spain with, don't get me wrong, it's not that Barcelona are a poor team, but that is definitely built in the correct manner, the way things are built at Barcelona. And to do well with them, to be as supremely successful with them as he was, is impressive. Bayern, less so. Obviously, it's a little bit easier. In Germany, he wasn't there particularly long. City, he won the Champions League, but he's only won one. He's won the Premier League multiple times.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's
great.
2 FA Cups.
Yeah.
Many League Cups, though.
Yeah.
He's won a lot of League Cups. But I just really, I do agree with you about what you're saying about Pep and Man City. And I do think that, like, there have been a more enjoyable side to watch, and save for their financial impropriety, you know, like they haven't had the same little sort of scandals and cultural issues around the club that Chelsea have had. But I do still think, like, I asked the question, who do you want to win? Not specifically to you, but to those that think it's funny that, you know, City knocked out Liverpool or Southampton knocked out Arsenal, or, you know, or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that you should have wanted our teams to win. What I'm saying is you're left.
Southampton knocking out Arsenal was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. Like, I'm not taking that away from
objectively.
I'm not taking that away from Southampton. Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
But like, what I'm saying is you're left with the 2 teams you should hate the most. Like great. I didn't see too much mockery flying around when Leeds got knocked out. You know, because all of a sudden it's like the penny starts to drop. Oh, it can happen to us too. You know, it wasn't so funny. Southampton weren't loading up memes, were they, when they got knocked out by Man City, and you're left with the Man City Chelsea final? It's like, why can't people just celebrate their own team's success and like not want the game to be ruined by like businessmen that are prepared to push the boundaries? Like, is that too much to ask? Are we really that like simple?
I think it's just sad that an FA Cup win nowadays isn't a building block towards something necessarily great. Obviously, Crystal Palace, but for a cruel twist of fate in their case, which, to be fair, has probably worked out okay for them, because in the Conference League final, they would have been in the Europa League on the back of winning that, which is, you know, a big deal. But perhaps they'd have rather won the Conference League anyway, so I don't know whether it's, in the long term, that much of a difference. And that will make you about £40 million, give or take, or possibly euros, I forget what. If you go on and win the Europa League, obviously good money for Villa if they do that. More importantly, you get to your place in the Champions League, which Villa are likely to get in either case, so shouldn't make too much of a difference. In that sense, it can build towards something, but just winning the FA Cup alone doesn't put you in a situation as it used to in the past where you can form something on the back of that. It's not going to attract more players to your club. It's not going to get more fans, bums on seats, which is what used to be your main means of making money. It's not going to let you build, and if with good investment and reinvestment in the stadium and stuff like that, a few years down the line, potentially be challenging for the title as it used to in the past. It's nice to win, and it's nice when it's someone like Crystal Palace winning it, or Wigan, or teams getting to the final, as we've mentioned. But it's just there's no road back to the top now.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's a shame without a similar thing happening. And even if a similar thing does happen, the big six are so protected, or the big four probably now, 4 or 5 are so protected that, Chelsea are going to not get in Chelsea aren't in the Champions League next season. Unlikely to be in any European competition if they don't win on Saturday. And it's not going to knock them back at all because they've got so much money in the tank through PSR. They've got so many players they've already bought on the back of it that they can just sell and make tons of money back. And their suspicious contracts paid off, and not any worry about paying that off over 8 years anymore, or whatever it might be. That it's not going to knock them back. They are still going to be competing for Premier League titles if they ever get their shit together, or competing to qualify for the Champions League or for the FA Cup or whatever else in 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 years' time. It feels like there's nothing, that the big teams are untouchable now. Bad seasons happen, good seasons happen, but ultimately, they're not going to get knocked off their perches. Spurs might.
Well, a lot depends on today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And tomorrow. That gives people an insight into the recording times again. But Arsenal are currently playing West Ham, and Leeds are playing Tottenham tomorrow.
Yeah.
Look, mate, I agree with you. I think the thing that's really disappointing is that there have been 44 different winners of the FA Cup since it started. Obviously, this is a slightly misleading stat because I've just predicated it on 92 teams, but that's 47% of the Football League have won it.
Yeah.
But obviously some of them don't exist, and some of them have been relegated out of the Football League. So, take that with a pinch of salt. Adjust it.
Probably in the high 30s, 38, 39.
Exactly.
Probably something around there.
Adjust it down by 5-10%. There have been 12 other finalists who haven't won it. So that's 56 of the 92 teams that have made a final. That's 60%. Which, that's what it was all about. That's what it was designed to achieve. It was the envy of the world because it was such a cool tournament, and anyone could enter it, anyone could win it. That's still, I guess, what it is in theory, and it is the dream. But since the 2 buyouts that we've been talking about, and I'm only having a quick look here, but I'm pretty sure that only Portsmouth, Wigan, Leicester and Crystal Palace, outside of Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea and Manchester United, have won it.
Yeah, basically the top 6, less the one that probably doesn't deserve to be in the top 6 and never wins anything and might get relegated this season.
Yeah.
Spurs. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, you yourself have loved this competition over the years as an Arsenal fan. No one's won this more than Arsenal, of course. 14 wins for Arsenal. I, as a Liverpool fan, thoroughly enjoyed winning this competition in 2001 and 2006 and 2022. Am I forgetting one?
No,
I don't think I am.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great competition. It's great to win. And a couple of those finals were really, really memorable for Liverpool. And one was less so. It was 0-0 and went to penalties. But a win's a win. It was against Chelsea, so that's nice. And yeah, I don't know. As good a competition as it is, when even the FA Cup, even when people claim it's not romantic anymore, becomes so inaccessible and so few teams winning it and such a limited rotation of teams winning it, it's a shame. Maybe that's why the romance is dying. Maybe it feels like a impossible task for all but the occasional few.
The reason the romance isn't completely dead is because, you've already touched on it, Southampton knocking Arsenal out this year was objectively amazing. And there, that's not the only time in recent memory there have been some big upsets. There's always an opportunity for a giant killing in the FA Cup, and there's always an opportunity for a really fun long run from a non-league side or a lower league side. And that you'll probably never take that away from it, and that's why it will always be special. But obviously, when it comes to winners, yeah, it's hard to say that it's the tournament that it once was. There've been some really amazing upsets. They're always tight affairs. Maybe we try and shift it to be a bit more positive, but like Crystal Palace, obviously we've mentioned them a couple of times already, beating City last year 1-0 with an Ebbs Eze goal.
Yeah, their first ever FA Cup.
And it was their first ever major trophy, wasn't it?
Yeah, first ever major trophy, of course.
Like, incredible, really, when you think of that. That's special. Leicester beating Chelsea was awesome off the back of, like, they rode the wave a little bit, didn't they, with like their league win, and then things started to go south for them again, and obviously they've been relegated to League One now, which is a spectacular fall from grace.
Yeah, it is. But they'd have as Gary Lineker said, they'd have taken this.
Yeah.
Someone had offered this to them 15 years ago, this roller coaster. They'd certainly have taken it.
It would have been, yeah, you'd have taken it. My favourite one, I think, is the Wigan one, beating Man City in 2013 1-0, Ben Watson leaping like a salmon at the corner.
It was just so similar to Wimbledon, to me. 1988, obviously, more importantly, it was a team that got relegated that season, Wigan, who have not been back in the Premier League since, and have been on a bit of a slide of their own as well, to a certain extent as well. And it was just this wonderfully unexpected, lovely turn up for the books.
Yeah, everyone thought that was going to be a bit like the Watford drilling, like when they got done 6-0 by City.
Yeah.
Now, it had that, maybe people weren't thinking it was going to be 6-0, but people really thought it was going to be a regulation Man City win. And so it was, and they got, relegated the same season, Roberto Martinez. It was pretty amazing, actually, that Wigan one.
Yeah.
That was probably the last time there was like a truly amazing upset in the final. Portsmouth getting there and beating Cardiff 1-0 in 2008 was awesome because Portsmouth won it. And it was a cool final because neither side was, perhaps fancied to make the final. But like it was...
Yeah, did Portsmouth not knock out Manchester United, I want to say, en route to winning that? Yeah, beat them in the quarters. So,
nice.
Always good.
That's always very enjoyable. Yeah, so like there have been moments, there have been noticeable winners, there have been enjoyable upsets, there have been surprise successes, but this year is not going to be one of those years.
No, and if you look back over the history of the competition, one thing that really does stand out to me is how few repeat winners there were, or even within the course of a decade, how few repeat winners there were. I think in the 50s, Newcastle were the only repeat winner. In the 60s, Tottenham won it a couple of times. Every other competition was won by someone different, or 3 times for Tottenham. In the 70s, Arsenal won it a couple of times, and everything else was different winners. And the 80s, it comes a little bit more, a couple of times for United, a couple of times for Liverpool, a couple of times for Spurs. Then the 90s, Manchester United start cleaning up, and from then on, it's just Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Man City eventually on repeat. And as much as we love it when it's Arsenal and Liverpool, it's not the same as it used to be.
Well, and also Arsenal and Liverpool, like, it maybe my bias is creeping in here, but they're not sides that dominate domestically. They're sides that are consistently and historically successful domestically, but not dominating. And so, like,
both sides have had a spell where they were arguably one of the best 2 teams in England, at times playing better football than the other team, and sometimes unfortunate to miss out on winning more.
Like, this is the thing. It's like, if you're a supporter of a rival team, I can understand why you don't want Arsenal and Liverpool to win the league. Win the FA Cup, or win anything for that matter. But if they were to win it, I don't think you could say that it's symptomatic of what's gone wrong with the game. Whereas I do think that the successes of Chelsea and Manchester City and the consistency with which it's achieved is symptomatic of that.
I would say Liverpool and Arsenal's sustained success, and Manchester United's as well, is symptomatic of what you could arguably say went wrong with the game in the 90s, with Sky Sports, with a more concentrated wealth in a few hands, teams with bigger stadiums, commanding bigger fees and selling more shirts, and the general commercialization and increase in player sales and everything that came with that allowed them to not dominate necessarily. And I wouldn't say Manchester United dominated for any reason other than the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson is and will always remain one of the greatest managers ever to lead in the game. But
for sure,
nevertheless, there was a certain amount more dominance then than there had been previously. But City and Chelsea are a whole different breed. That, at the time they did it, with the amount of investment, any team, it didn't have to be City, it didn't have to be Chelsea, any team that the owners of either of those clubs decided to buy and put that much investment into at that point could have been as successful as they are. Like, there was a bit of history, obviously, the two historical clubs, but there wasn't a base there like there has been slowly built up over the years with Manchester United and with Arsenal and with Liverpool. It was artificial. It stepped in and overinflated them, more so in City's case than Chelsea's case, to be fair. As I mentioned, Chelsea were at least there or thereabouts in the years preceding it. But it could have been Leeds. It could have been Everton. It could have been Nottingham Forest. It could have been a lot of different teams at that point. It just so happened to be Manchester City and Chelsea.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And now we're sort of beyond the looking glass now. I don't think there's any coming back unless things change drastically, which they won't. They're only going to get worse.
No, sure.
And I dread to think what football's going to look like in 10 years' time.
And this is just a really good opportunity to whinge about it because it's the first time they've played each other. And
it's what we like doing.
Yeah, and we do like doing it. But I just can't help but feel saddened by this FA Cup final. Mainly because we've been throwing out the odd stat here and there to illustrate our point. But when you just combine their successes in the past 23 years, those two sides have been in 15 finals of the last 23. Like that level of dominance has like never been seen before. It's just stupid. And like you say, like the ship has sailed. So maybe this whinging is all in vain, and is probably just taking the shine off something that maybe we should just sit back and enjoy for what it is now rather than what it once was. But yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard not to think that the powers that be, as per usual, have ruined something that was loved by the people and was as close to a level playing field as you will find in professional sport.
Yeah, it certainly was once upon a time. And ultimately, football, the future of football is made up by several different things. It's the clubs, the players, the organisations, the leagues, and the fans. And if any of them is going to get screwed over by any changes that are going to come in the future, it is always going to be the fans. And that is the problem. Like, there's no sense of balance or any desire for balance in, the organisations, the leagues, or whatever else. There's no feeling that you've got to find a happy, balanced middle ground like they do to a certain extent with the Bundesliga, where at least the clubs there have sort of partial fan ownership, and not that it's stopped obviously Bayern being utterly dominant in that league for 20 years now. But I don't know. I fear that it's going to be more ways to close off the viewing of football to the public. Tickets are going to get more expensive at Premier League clubs. They're already getting stupidly expensive.
Yeah.
TV,
World Cup,
Sky Sports.
You only need to look at the World Cup, don't you?
Stupid ticket prices, and they're not selling them. Like, they're going to have to stuff people in the stadiums to fill some of the stadiums at the World Cup. But we'll come to that. We'll come to all that. But yeah, like TV deals with individual clubs like they do in the United States, I can see that happening. Like, if you're in a certain area, you can't watch your team on TV because you have to pay for the private subscription for that team. That kind of thing, like they do in the US, where if you're in Colorado, you can't watch the Rockies play baseball on TV unless you've got Rockies TV subscription. But if you go to California, you can watch the Rockies, but you can't watch the Dodgers or the Angels or the Padres if you're in California. Like, it's bad.
It's a sorry state.
That's where it's going to go.
Sorry state of affairs, isn't it? It's a sorry state of affairs. But yeah, unfortunately, two amateurs on a self-made podcast aren't going to change anything.
No, this is true.
I mean, there's still a lot to love about it. Like, things happen in the FA Cup that don't happen in other competitions, and that still remains the case. And there are some contemporaneous examples, like we've already pointed out, like Palace last year, and some of the stories we've mentioned, and comebacks galore, and like even just mentioning the Gerrard one, so that it segues in. If you give me some others, Jack, you're the FA Cup expert. You've got the knowledge.
In order to sort of restore some positivity to this, knowing full well where this episode was going to go, I've written down the 4 games where teams have come back from 2 goals or more behind, 2 goals behind in all these cases, to win FA Cup finals. And they were Liverpool, as we mentioned, 2006. This one's a bit questionable because Liverpool only won on penalties, so I don't know if this counts as drawing.
It counts as a comeback.
You're winning draw.
You're 3-1 down, weren't you?
We're 2-0 down, and then 3-2 down in the last minute. Dean Ashton classic Jamie Carragher own goal as well, put West Ham 2-0 up. Djibril Cissé, Steven Gerrard scored 2-2. Then Paul Konchesky scored that cross, which went over Pepe Reina's head.
Yes.
Yeah, 3-2. Before, on the stroke of 90 minutes, Gerrard scored a decent, half-decent little equaliser there. 35 yards past Xhaka Hislop. I may have gone a bit mental when that went in. I make no apologies. And then, Liverpool won 3-1 on penalties. So, don't know if that counts, but that is one example.
That counts.
Yeah. The other three were genuine comeback in normal time to win it. First one was 1953, which we already mentioned. I say normal time, actually, one of these is extra time. 1953, where Stanley Matthews, we mentioned this in the last FA Cup episode.
White Horse final. Is that
this is the Matthews final.
Oh, the Matthews final. I'm getting them muddled
White
up.
Horse was 23.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Blackpool were 3-1 down, 22 minutes left against Bolton. Still 3-2 down with a minute left and scored twice right near the end, including a jinking Matthews run to set up Perry for the winner. Undoubtedly the best FA Cup final ever. The other two, though, do deserve a mention, I think, because one of them is a bit overshadowed because it happened in 1966, and people tend to remember what happened about 8 weeks later at the same stadium.
Don't know why.
When they do this cup final. Yeah, can't think why. So this was Everton versus Sheffield Wednesday. Ray Wilson, funnily enough, played in both games. He was playing for Everton at left back and England at left back in the two games. But Sheffield Wednesday were 2-0 up, 57 minutes in, before Everton stunned the Owls with 3 goals in 15 minutes. The equaliser was great because it prompted a one-man pitch invasion. And because this is the 1960s, it was just some bloke in a suit. Some policeman tried to stop him, just got his jacket off him, his suit jacket off him. So he carried on in his braces and his white shirt. And before a second copper came along and rugby tackled him, which makes for excellent television. You don't get that nowadays.
No, you pitch invaders are
pitch invaders are usually either naked or putting some sort of political message. He was just happy.
Just a happy
Evertonian.
Yeah.
Anyway, they got the winning goal when Derek Temple got clean through after a famous mistake by Jerry Young, Sheffield Wednesday captain, long ball forward, failed to cut it out, slipped when he began to chase Temple, and Temple got in to score the winning goal there. Derek Temple, who's 87 years old now, still going.
Nice.
Liverpool born and bred legend. And I think Liverpool, the city, obviously not Liverpool, the football club, because he's an Evertonian.
Mm-hmm.
Everton won the cup 3-2, the third of their 5 times they've won it in their history, most recent of those being 1995.
Yeah.
And then, Ben, do you remember what the other time a team came back from 2-0 down to win the FA Cup was?
Yes.
2014.
Hull.
Yeah. Hull City versus Arsenal.
I remember very clearly. Aaron Ramsey, my darling.
Given what everything we've said in this episode previously, this is probably not the romantic outcome that we'd have objectively been hoping for, or I'd have objectively been hoping for anyway, but
it was
nevertheless
subjectively one of the best days of my life.
So Arsenal got off to a bloody awful start. They were 2-0 down within 8 minutes.
Yeah, howler.
James Chester turned in a scuffed Tom Huddleston volley, and then Curtis Davies rebounded from the acute angle after Fabianski got a save from Alex Bruce, and Alex Bruce nearly scored another goal after that. Nearly made it 3-0 after 13 minutes because he got a header on target, only for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to clear off the line.
Are you sure it's Kieran Gibbs?
It was Kieran Gibbs.
I knew that joke was coming. Shut up, Walcott.
Obviously, Oxlade-Chamberlain was actually injured and missed the final, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Anyway.
I know what happened next.
Alex Bruce involved again because he fouled Santi Cazorla about 25 metres out, to the left-hand side of goal.
And then he took a beautiful free kick.
It is one of the best, probably the best free kick in FA Cup final history. I'm struggling to remember a better one. Am I forgetting one? I don't know. I think Drogba scored one once, which was very good, but that was absolute beauty. It was into the far post as well, which it's the harder side to go for. Alan McGregor in goal, good goalkeeper. Bullseye right in the top corner, 2-1.
Yeah. Is it Lauren Koscielny that got the equaliser?
Yeah. So it was an exchange of chances, but kind of game died down a little bit until the 71st minute. Cazorla took the corner, Sani won the header, Koscielny in the 6-yard box, who sort of bundled it in, sort of semi-backheeled it, got wiped out in the process, injured himself, but picked himself up after that.
Yeah.
So 2-2, 20 minutes to go. No one scores. Extra time, yeah. 4 minutes into the second half of extra time. Back heel. I was
going to say, if you don't mention the assist, because it's never mentioned, because obviously the winner's always the winner. outrageous assist.
Giroud's a class act in that sort of situation in the penalty area, bringing other teammates into play. Lovely back heel, and then out of nowhere, Aaron Ramsey outside the foot pokes it in.
First time finish as well.
Yeah, at the near post, 3-2.
Beautiful.
There was. I
remember
this.
Fabianski flying out of his goal.
A heart in the mouth. Mertesacker completely misread a header. And then Fabianski, for whatever reason, he had two defenders in front of him, protecting his goal. This is out near the touchline.
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
near the edge of the box near the touchline. For some reason, Fabianski comes charging out of goal, misses it completely. Sonny Aluko goes around him, gets his shot off, but it just goes in front of both posts.
Yeah, he rolled it across the front of the goal, didn't he? He didn't put it wide as such. It was almost like a cross.
Yeah. Sensibly left by the two Arsenal defenders, and final whistle went, and Arsenal had won their 11th FA Cup and their first of what turned out to be 4 in 7 seasons.
Yeah. It was our first trophy in 10 years, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Well, 8 years, maybe. No, 10.
9 years.
9 years.
9 years. 2005 FA Cup.
Yes.
Would have been the last one when you beat United on penalties.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, comebacks. I thought that would be a nice palate cleanser for you, at least.
Beauty.
Maybe not for any Hull fans.
No, sorry, Hull fans.
Hull is in the playoffs this season, could be in the Premier League next year, and I think they would be my pick of the 4 teams. But we'll see.
Hull back in it. Yeah, I think I wouldn't mind Borough coming up.
What about Millwall, though? It'd be interesting.
It would be interesting. It would only be fun if Millwall came up if West Ham stayed up.
Well, let's make that happen.
Well, let's worry about that after today.
Yes.
But anyway, that actually segues quite nicely because we are hoping to do an episode on the Football League playoffs, aren't we?
Yes.
So maybe we'll talk a little bit more about who we want to see come up and so on and so forth, and what we think of the system, and just talk generally about the playoffs and the fun that it brings sometimes.
Indeed, usually, although not so much in the championship first legs, which were all quite dull.
Yes.
Both quite dull.
Yeah, they were both 0-0. But it does set up 2 quite good reverse fixtures because it's a winner takes all.
Yeah.
But no, well, let's talk about that then. Let's talk about that in a bit more detail next time. But thank you for lightening the mood because it was rather dark and gloomy and depressing. But, we didn't ruin the football game. The administration did. So if you're angry, maybe just join our fight.
Well, this is kind of part of the problem that you're never going to join the fight if A, you think it doesn't affect you. And I don't just mean if you're a Chelsea or City fan, if you're also the people who should be joining this more are the Crystal Palace fans of the world, or the Leeds fans of the world, or the Leicester fans of the world who have been, Leicester kind of dug their own grave a little bit there, but have been screwed over by this in the past.
Yeah, they're a cautionary tale, Leicester, because whilst obviously they had the halcyon days of doing the unthinkable and winning everything, or experiencing everything, if not winning it all, winning the big 2, if you like, domestically, and then still getting to the Champions League quarterfinals and stuff, they still ended up back in plight, which just serves to show how damn hard it is to consistently compete with these teams that have so much money. And so I think that whilst you can celebrate that, you should be wary of it.
Yeah, and it was 5 years after they won the Premier League that they won the FA Cup, which is something that needs pointing out. In the meantime, they missed out on the Champions League by a single place on a couple of occasions. So basically, the reason they're in such a hole is because they were trying to compete with the big teams, and they got damn close to doing so. Obviously, they won the title, and that was extraordinary achievement. They then went out and nearly got relegated the next season, but they bounced back, and then they maintained it for so long in a really good standard, really competing. They were up in title battles up until sort of the new year on many occasions before dropping away and just missing out on the Champions League. And it shows how hard it is and how much of a gamble you have to take to try and keep in against these clubs that are so well established and have so much spending power. And ultimately, how can a Crystal Palace do that? Because this is the end result if you get it wrong. And they didn't get it wrong. They came 5th twice. That should be an incredible achievement.
That should be the basis upon which you're consolidated in the top 25% of the league.
Yeah. If they come 4th twice, maybe not only would they still be in the Premier League, maybe they'd be one of the top 6 now. Maybe they'd replace someone, not saying any names, maybe they'd replace someone in the top 6 by now, as in what people describe as the top 6. But yeah, by missing out a couple of times. Icarus. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, it is. It's a very, very...
Flew too close to the sun.
Very good analogy.
The sun in this case being Manchester City and Chelsea.
How dare you get back in your box? It's got that kind of vibe. Anyway, I don't give a toss who wins, frankly. I genuinely don't care. But will I still watch it? Of course I will. Of course I will. The pomp and ceremony enough is... that'll seduce me. Abide with me.
Don't ever change it. Don't put a halftime show in. Don't ever change it.
Yeah.
It's great how it is.
I agree.
Ordinarily I'd want Chelsea to win as the underdogs, but Chelsea.
I don't care. Like it's just another trophy to one of the two clubs that I despise the most.
Indeed.
So yeah, maybe we'll be happier talking about the playoffs.
Oh, the playoffs are always great.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that then. And we can talk about why we think it ought to be reformed in the way that is actually currently under consideration.
Yeah, and there's advantages and disadvantages and arguments for and against that particular change, but I think probably both for it on the whole.
Yeah.
Certainly it would do away with crap first legs like happened in the Championship.
Yeah.
This is the reform where teams down to 8th will get in it, but it would only be single-legged games, so you'd get a bye if you come 3rd or 4th, just in case anyone doesn't know what we're talking about. But we'll talk about that in more detail next time out.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Cool. All right, well, I guess we'll try and enjoy the build-up to the FA Cup, and we'll look forward to discussing more football.
Yeah, plenty more football to come.
Yeah.
And the build-up to the FA Cup, just not like how it used to be, Ben.
No.
We are turning into old men.
We are.
We really are.
Yeah, we are. Back in my day. Anyway.
Start from 10 a.m. in the morning, the build-up. Be watching it over your breakfast. Yeah, not the same.
Not the same. All right, mate. Well, on that very geriatric note, let's leave it there. And I'll see you.
Let's do that.
See you in a bit, pal.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you felt the love for football rather than just envy and hypocrisy. And if you think that was a rant, wait for the World Cup. If you enjoyed, please share or like. If you hated, feel free to comment, and please, either way, tell a friend. Our theme tune is Oh Yeah by Harmony Productions. We're at The Sporting Almanac on Instagram and Blue Sky. Our next episode is on the EFL playoffs. Until then, remember what makes football special. You. See you next time.